One of the things that all the best players in the world do with their iron clubs is they hit down on the golf ball. And if you don't do this, you're not unlocking your best golf. But we're going to cover that in this video and help you do exactly like the pros do and hit down on the golf ball. So believe it or not, there's not actually that many things that all the best players in the world do. They don't all hold it the same, they don't all stand to the golf ball the same, they don't all have the same backswings. But one thing that they all do is with the iron clubs, they all hit down on the golf ball by a certain amount. Now, some are more down than others, so we see different divot sizes, but they all hit down on the golf ball. That's not always what we tend to see in the amateur game, in the recreational golfers, and certainly as that handicap starts to creep up and up and up, we start to see the ability to hit down get reduced. The worst golfers are often hitting up on the irons and they really struggle with distance and strike and consistency and all those things that we really want to try and add to our game. So we're going to cover a few things in this video, and the lesson plan here really is to just quickly cover what do we mean by hitting down, and then we're going to go through some really key points that almost have to be in your golf swing in order for you to do this. And of course, we're going to finish up with some drills which are really going to help you move towards this desirable impact that all the best players in the world do. So very quickly, what do we mean by hitting down? Well, if you can imagine your golf club is moving around your body on a circle. That circle has a lowest point. Geometry tells us every circle has a low point. Where we position that low point relative to the golf ball will determine whether you're hitting up or down. We need that lowest part of the swing, that circle, to be in front of the golf ball. So what that means is when your golf club makes contact with the ball, it is in the process of going downwards. It hasn't yet reached the bottom of the circle. When that low point gets behind the ball, which is what we tend to see in the amateur game, strike just becomes incredibly difficult to get. The ball tends to come very much off the bottom of the club, or we hit the ground early. And when we do make decent contact, the flight is often very high. It's not particularly efficient and we lose distance. So there are a few things that we have to have an impact, and we're going to cover those first. So the first thing is we have to have the body weight forward. That's on your lead side. So for me, that's on my left side. And whilst we can't really get you to think about these kind of numbers on the golf course, we're looking for around about 80% on that lead side as you strike the golf ball. The other thing we'll be looking for is to have the hand of the golf club or the grip of the golf club in front of the golf ball as we make contact. These two things help us move the lowest part of the circle, target side of the golf ball. That's absolutely vital. However, those are static reference points, and we are not static when we hit the golf ball. We are in the process of making a dynamic movement. So we're going to go through exactly how we achieve those things, but in a dynamic movement. Before we get started, we're going to have to just look at what the body should be doing through impact and how that relates to how we have to move. If I take my starting position here, my lead hand is a certain distance from the ground. If I start to rotate my body, because I'm tilted over and I'm on an angle, when I add some rotation and I move my legs and my hips and my torso and my shoulders, my lead shoulder is moving up away from the ground. So what you'll notice now is my lead hand has actually raised up further away from the ground. Now, do we want rotation through the golf ball? Absolutely. All the best players are rotating through the golf ball. What we can therefore say is that lead shoulder and that lead arm and that lead hand are moving up away from the ground. Now that would suggest that the club is moving up and away from the ground, but that's not what we see. So notice how I can have the grip of the golf club moving up away from the ground, but the club head can still be traveling down towards the ground. And that's really, really important concept to get our head around, because many of the things that you're going to sense and feel are actually moving away from the ground. It's only the club head that's traveling down. Therefore, the worst thing that you can do is stand there and try and reduce any body rotation and try and force the golf club down into the ground. You might have a little bit of success, but you're not going to get any consistency. You're not going to get any speed. And it's just not going to end well. So we have to really get ourselves clear that the body is actually pushing up away from the ground. The hands and the grip is also moving up away from the ground, but the club head is still moving down. So what's really, really important, if we are looking to hit down and hit down the correct way, is that we have the butt end of the club, that's the end of the grip, at its lowest point in the downswing when it's over your trail thigh. So if we mark where that grip is at setup, when I arrive at this delivery position, it has to be lower than it was at address, and I think you can see that there. What that now allows me to do is it allows me to rotate my body as I want, moving that lead shoulder away, but it still allows me to get the golf club traveling downwards and strike the ground after the ball. Absolutely key. What do we often see from the golfers who struggle? We often see, relative to our reference point at the start, the grip is too high at this point. They stop their body rotation, they force everything downwards to try and get that strike. Because the body's rotated, they're forcing the club down, the arms tend to collapse, the head stays, they don't rotate, and it just looks really, really ugly. That's not what we want. So here's how you're going to try and practice this. You're going to take an address and you're going to rehearse and stop at this point in the dowsing with what you feel is most of the weight on your lead side and the grip lower than it was at the setup. So what does that look like? It looks like a normal setup, a normal backswing, but there's my point that I want to reference. Weight on the lead side, grip is lower at this point. From there, I can really start to focus on the ground after the ball as I make that really positive rotation and go through. I can absolutely guarantee you there my sensation was upwards through the ball. I was using the ground, I was rotating and pushing upwards, yet the club head was going downwards. I hit the ball first, I hit the mat second. If that was on the golf course, that would have been a divot. So let me show you that one again. We take a setup, we make a backswing, weight goes left, hands go low. That's really, really important. Now from there, we push and extend and strike the ground. And again, same feeling. I felt like I was pushing upwards, yet the club head was going downwards. That's how I'd like you to practice it, because we can all appreciate, you know, the static positions at impact. What has to be there? Weight left, hands forward. But like I said at the start, you know, we don't play golf through static positions. It's a dynamic movement and often done at pretty high speed. So with this little drill here, we can start to tick off those checkpoints that we want, yet we're doing a dynamic drill and we're starting to use some energy in the body and some force through the ground, which all the best players do, yet still controlling that low point. For a reference, take a tee, place it a fair distance in front of the golf ball. I mean, that's probably just more than the width of my 7-iron. And what we should find is when I do this little exercise, I should be able to hit the ball cleanly and it should feel like a very solid contact, but we should clear out the tee peg as well. Because that low point is target side of the ball, we should see the tee disappears and probably will hit the net in front of me. So let's go ahead, we go up as normal. We really find that point that we're referencing here, hands low, weight left. And there we go, strike was good, tee pegs end up the other side of the net, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, what you might notice from the down the line camera is when I'm trying to get that golf club at this lowest point here, I'm actually starting to increase the angles of my body a little bit. I'm actually starting to lose a little bit of height. And we're not really going to go into that in too much detail in this video, but again, we see all the best players in the world do that. They tend to have that squatting motion to start down, their head drops a little bit, and it allows them to do so many of the things that we've discussed in this video, getting the hands low, getting the weight left, and then enable them to push up through the golf ball. So ultimately, once you've done a few little exercises and you're doing a few little drills, you can go ahead and just try and put it into a full swing. If your ball striking improves, your scores will come down. It can't be as simple as that. There aren't many golfers, like I say, who couldn't improve their game just by striking the ball a little bit better. Those little drills should help you do just that. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below. Comments box down there, like button. Really appreciate your views. And I'd like you to share this video if you think you know anyone who could benefit from the information within it. Thanks for watching. We shall see you again soon.